Hey, folks, John Kelly. Welcome back to the Law Enforcement Life Coach Sometimes Heroes Need Help podcast. I have Ricky Johnson with me. Ricky is a Marine veteran of 4 years and 8 months. He's going to tell you it's 5. I'm telling you it's 4 years and 8 months. Man, he's such a good egg. Ricky is all about paying it forward, man, and having tough conversations. And he's been involved in community outreach and veteran nonprofit organizations. And when we talk about failure, Ricky knows something about failure, and he knows a lot about getting up from failure. And his message is not only is it necessary, man, it is changing lives. And he has been at it for a little bit, man, impacting people, adding value to their lives. And we're really fortunate to have him with us today. Ricky Johnson, brother, man, it's nice to see you again.
Yes, sir. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, man. The I've always thought, correct. Let me say that differently. I've recently been able to appreciate the power of vulnerability.
Yes.
Before we jump into your story, speak to me about the power of vulnerability, man.
The power of vulnerability. For me personally, to be so open and transparent as specifically as a man, it gives us the ability to connect with other people, people that may be going through a similar struggle as us. When we're open about something that's humiliating or hurtful that somebody else thinks that nobody else can relate to, or they don't think anybody else is going through. When somebody like us opens up about it, it lets them know that we're approachable and that we're safe. And having that sense of connection and networking, it saves lives. And I think it's a very powerful tool.
Amen, brother. It saves lives. I've never felt more powerful and strong after I've been vulnerable. It's the exact opposite of what people think. People think
Sure.
that somehow if I let you know the worst of me, that you'll think the worst of me. And it's the exact opposite
Yeah,
dynamic.
100%. I've experienced that's my career on social media started from being transparent and vulnerable. That's how it began for me. So yeah, um, what I always tell people is, for me personally, I'm willing to stand in front of an audience of strangers and expose my entire life and risk embarrassment and humiliation to inspire one person, but to gain confidence as well.
Ricky, I've always said our stories, our failures are not too unlike. I'll say you win the prize, though, brother. You didn't fuck around, man. When you fucked
Yeah,
up, you fucked up.
yeah,
You know,
pretty bad.
yeah, pretty bad, bro. And but our failures, man, and how we define that, we when we show ourselves a little bit of grace, a little bit
Yeah,
of grace, there's an effect that has that really moves people to really start putting two and two together, man, and to start understanding what we're talking about. And so
yeah,
I want you to tell us your story. Um, 3-time convicted felon.
yes, for
And
methamphetamines and multiple DWIs.
yep. And and your story, and I read about it a little bit more today.
Yeah.
You lost your son to suicide.
Yes, sir. He was 18 years old. I lost him to suicide in 2015, December 12th.
And in your own words, you bear some responsibility there.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
my conduct impacted his mental health. Just through the way I was living for most of his
Right.
life. I put substance use, criminal activity, other substance users above my son. The message I was sending to him was, these people in this life mean more to me than spending time with you.
Right.
My conduct proved that I was a liar many times over, to him, and The reason I'm so transparent about that is because I want other people to see if they're going through, if they're making the same choices I was making, it's impacting their kids 100%.
And choices, man, choices. Talk to me about choices, and you know what? For not only for me, man, but for the listener, man, start us down that road. Start us down that road of we're in the audience, man. You're speaking,
Sure.
and for those of you that don't know, Ricky speaks. There isn't a venue or an
Yeah.
audience you won't speak to, whether it's a prison, a high school, a church
Yep.
group, or a general assembly of some lawmakers, man. You
Yes,
you are
sir.
speaking to them all.
Yep.
Walk us through that talk, if you will, Ricky. I'd appreciate that.
Sure. Well, usually my presentation's about 35 minutes long. I don't want to, I mean, unless you want me to start from the beginning and
No,
go from
bro. I
there.
mean, you can hit us with the highlights, but I think that
Sure.
your story is you're changing lives, brother.
Sure. So I'll give you the meat and potatoes of it and
Yeah,
give you
meat and
the
potatoes. That's
highs and
what
the
we want.
lows. So originally I'm from Southeast Missouri. I'm 43.
Missouri.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
pick
from the
up on any. I thought it was. There was a little Boston accent there, maybe, but no. All
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Missouri.
So I'm originally from Missouri. 43, as you mentioned. I'm a Marine veteran of 5 years. Never saw combat. Never was deployed. The most intense battles that I ever fought with myself. In the Marine Corps, I was a refueler. I pumped gas.
Okay.
Growing up, I really had no excuse to become who I was. But the truth is, I lived in a culture of substance use. I was exposed to alcoholism at a very young age. I was raised in the bars with my dad. He would take me with him and let me taste. My family would let me taste alcohol at a very young age.
Right.
It appealed to me, and I aspired to be that. Um, I've lost both my parents to alcoholism as well. My mother was 49 and my dad was 54.
Hmm.
They were good people, but the choices they were making it contributed to their death 100%.
Right.
Also as a kid, I was violated sexually by a family member. I was molested, and that also had a very traumatic impact on my life as well. And Mr. Barry or Mr. Or sorry, before I get into this,
Yeah.
all the choices I made in my life, I don't blame anybody for it. I
Right.
take responsibility. Everything I was charged with and convicted of, I was 100% guilty of doing. I get to high school. I was athletic, made good grades, and I was a young father. I had my son at the age of 17.
Okay.
Um, I needed some structure, some guidance, and discipline, so I joined the Marine Corps. What any intelligent young man would do.
There
I
you
was
go.
joking.
Yeah, man. There might be a few people that take exception to that, but all right, you went
Yeah,
with the Marine Corps.
I had a very extreme personality, so I was a perfect fit for the Marine Corps. But I had an addictive personality as well.
Right.
The Marine Corps instills into us the ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and not give up. And that's probably what saved my life after discharging from the Marine Corps. I returned back to Missouri, where I'm from. I discharged honorably, and I had good intentions. I was going to be the father to my son I didn't have. When I say the father I didn't have, my biological father wasn't a bad man, but he was just in and out of my life due to his own struggle. And I was
Yeah.
never mad at him. He was a good man, but he was in that pit and he couldn't get out of it. The
Yeah.
only father I ever knew was my stepdad, and my stepdad's a good man. We're very close to
Yeah.
this day. If I told you I made my son a priority, I'd be lying to you.
Yeah.
Methamphetamine, alcohol, pills, and criminal activity that came before everything, including my son. He
Hey,
saw me get
Ricky.
high. Yes,
Ricky, how much do you think, knowing that you take ownership, like I take ownership of my failures, how much of
yes.
an impact do you think, or the people you were running with at that time, did that play into that?
I think it's I always tell people, if you run with three thieves, you're going to be the fourth.
Okay. Yeah,
You know,
man.
when you surround yourself with people who have nothing to lose, they're going to help you lose everything that you have. And I wasn't somebody that was I wasn't really peer pressured. I was just somebody that wanted to be a part of something, to be accepted. I was curious, and I liked at that time. I enjoyed getting intoxicated. I thought I did,
Right.
and how that path, you take that first step, and it just crumbles like that. So,
Gotcha.
um, as I mentioned, my son saw me get high. I'll let my son get high in front of me. I would take him with me on drug deals. On multiple occasions, my son saw me so intoxicated on alcohol and pills that I'd be covered in my own piss.
Yeah.
Um,
Not a
I don't
good
say
look,
those
bro.
things. No, not at all. When I say I let my son get high in front of me, I had so much shame and guilt that I couldn't tell him no.
Mm,
In my mind, I was showing him the right way, how to do the wrong thing. It was a very toxic, twisted way of thinking.
yeah.
Make the long story short, I spent 10 years in and out of active addiction. I was catching drug charges, DWIs, in and out of facilities. In the past 26 years that I could legally drive, I've not had a driver's license for 18 of those years. My last DWI, I lost my license for 10 years. Currently 11. Probably one of the greatest achievements of my life is, back in the summer, I had to fly to Missouri to go to court where I was granted permission to pursue getting my license back after 11 years. So I'm in the process of, I have the interlock device in my vehicle. My wife has to suffer because of it, because of my
Right.
choices of 12 years ago.
Sure.
But the ball is rolling. I'm 6 months away from driving again, which is a huge accomplishment
I'd say,
for
yeah,
me.
man.
Yeah. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So I spent 10 years in and out of active addiction. Um, Lost everything. I was divorced twice. I was living with my stepdad at the time. I was 31 years old, and he got sick of my shit. He's like, "Listen, Ricky," he's like, "you won't stop stealing from me. You're a terrible example to Landon. You won't stay sober. You won't keep a job. I'm done." And I was homeless for a couple of years.
Right.
When I say I was homeless, I was not the guy, holding a sign under a bridge. I was couch surfing, and I was using people. The transition took place in my life when I ended up in a rescue mission. I had
Yeah.
three
But
changes.
yeah, Ricky. So, I mean,
Sure.
that's a hell of a, that's some shit right there, man. So how do you go from using, abusing, couch surfing, not respecting yourself or anybody else, man?
Mhm.
Um, that shame, man. How
Yeah.
do you go from that guy to this guy?
I crossed paths with an angel, and I married her. That's my wife.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the way the
brother.
trans so I'm
Yeah,
at this
brother.
rescue mission in where I'm from. I had, like I said, I had nothing. I mean, I done lost everything. I lost the respect of peers, the community. People were done with me, and rightfully so.
Right.
And the transition happened for me. The way I describe it is, the material walls collapsed and the spiritual world awakened for me. I'm not the most religious person, but I'm very spiritual. I believe a religious man fears hell, and a spiritual man comes from it. And that rescue mission, I said a prayer, and I'm like, God, if you get me out of this pits of hell, I'll always get back to the next man. I never doubt you if things don't go my way, and I'll always give you credit when I'm blessed. And I meant the prayer, and I stood on it. And the transition didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of effort and commitment. But
Sure.
while I was there, my wife was working down the street from this rescue mission I was staying at, and meeting her changed everything for me. She believed in me. She saw something in me I didn't see. She saw my potential, and it motivated me to be the best possible man that I could be, because I knew that if I was still doing the same, if I was still living as a promiscuous, reckless, intoxicated person, that I didn't have a chance in hell with her.
Right.
My joke to everyone is I'm married way out of my league. My wife's got 2 master's degrees, and I got 3 felonies. So
Yeah, man.
we're
Yeah,
lucky.
no. You both
So,
got you both got diplomas. They're just from different
yeah,
institutions.
mine's from Penn State. That's what I always
Oh
tell
my
people.
God.
So anyway,
Oh
I'm
my
at
goodness.
this. Um, my wife was somebody that set boundaries with me. She held me accountable. And my way of doing things is proven to fail repeatedly. And when I met Julie, it was like God said, "Listen to this woman and let her guide you and let her lead you." And that's what I did. From the beginning, she just let me know, listen, if we're going to be together, you're going to have to keep a job, stay sober, and respect me. And I needed somebody to hold me accountable.
Right.
That's when the transition took place in my life. What I always share with people is most people have the misperception of success and progress. Is they think when I start achieving success and making progress, my life's going to get smooth and fall into place. It's farthest from the truth. That's when the tests get more intense and more frequent. And that's what happened for me. I met this amazing woman, my soulmate. I was sober for the first time in my life. My life was taking
How
off.
how
I
did
was
how
making,
did that transition happen, Ricky? Getting sober? Would you? I don't know. So I was an
yeah.
alcoholic. I never dabbled with the pills, man. But
Mm.
from what I know, that's a son of a bitch to get rid of.
Sure. I mean, my alcohol and methamphetamine was more my area, which
Yeah,
I would use anything I could get my hands on.
copy.
It was a sorry to be honest with you, for my mindset at that time in my life was I was so sick of being living that life.
Right.
And I tell people now, I would rather be dead than go back to that. It was a living hell.
Sure.
And I was committed to this change. I mean, did meeting my wife help me? 100%. But it took us, I had to meet her in the middle, and
Right.
I was willing to be vulnerable and learn and do something,
Right. It's
and think
amazing.
different.
We both had amazingly strong women in our lives that saved us.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
For
brother.
sure.
Yeah, brother.
So, the test came for me. I was making all this progress. And I tell people, you're going to be tested 100%. So for
People
me,
think,
it was,
Ricky, people think that just because you get over one obstacle or one hurdle, that
yeah,
life's not going to throw anything else at
yeah,
you.
for sure. Success is asking for a larger set of problems and the courage to continually solve it.
Yeah, man.
And, for me, it was my son's suicide. All the time that I spent worrying about what I wanted, what I needed. Poor Ricky's addiction. Ricky's locked up. I neglected him. The person
Mm,
that needed me the most. All the broken promises, the letdowns, the lies. Like I said, I was a father that would tell him, "I love you more than life. I'll do anything for you." But my conduct proved that I was a liar. And
yeah.
on December 12th, 2015, is when I got the phone call. I talked to my son 7 hours prior to his death. Um, After I got off the phone with him, 7 hours later, he was found hanging in a city park. He took his, like I said, he took his own life. So devastated me for sure.
Isn't it crazy, brother? The things we rationalize when we're
Yeah.
spiraling,
Yep. For
we don't
sure.
think, right? We don't. We just
Mm.
we're not
We're not
even in
hurting
a
anybody.
place. We're not
Yeah.
in a
We're not
place to.
hurting. We're just hurting ourselves. That's what I used to tell myself,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't feel the guilt of it.
No, man. There's a huge ripple effect when we don't make good decisions, man. And
Yeah.
it's
100%. Sure.
not that. Listen, I that's fucking horrible. And and that is the extreme um result of
Yep.
your poor decisions. Um, but I think
And,
you got to
sir,
sit with that pain, don't you?
100%. Great. And it's a great question because that's what I was about to touch on is, you'll hear people say all the time, I've got no regrets. I have no regrets. I got a ton of regrets. And
Fuck
what I mean
yeah,
by that is
fuck
this.
yeah, man. Yeah,
Did I become a better man from going through those things? And did I learn from it? And would I be here without it? No. But I don't feel good about hurting people.
no,
I don't feel good about the thought of impacting somebody in a negative way. So what I tell people is, now I reflect on those things to keep from projecting, onto other people.
sure,
I'll sit through the pain and feel it and work through it, but I don't obsess over it and consume myself with it.
right.
What I always share is, regret is a guideline. I'm okay with carrying that pain with me because it keeps me from going back to it. I don't want to forget about it. I keep it near me. So
Rick,
that's how I
that's
look at
one
it.
thing my wife. I don't think she understands with me. I will
Yeah,
never forget the man I was. I don't dwell on
me,
it. Don't
I'm
dwell
the
on it.
same, one hundred
But
percent.
if I don't, part of me is afraid that if I don't remember the pain and that man, I could,
Complacent.
I could be that guy again. And it
Yeah,
sounds ah,
I'm in the same boat with you.
okay, man. All
That's
right, all right.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you know, you make promises, right?
yeah,
You make promises, and that's one way to keep it, I
yeah,
think, is by
for sure.
staying. Li- yeah, brother.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I care to disappoint people. I care to let people down. And people always tell me like, Ricky, you got to forgive yourself. And it's not that I've not forgiven myself, and they take it the wrong way. It's just I don't want to forget who I used to be for a reason. I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah. No, and brother, listen, for whatever it's worth, man, we don't know each other. But you have to forgive yourself. You have forgiven
Sure.
yourself, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're good with the decisions that you've made in the past.
Yes.
It's two different
Yeah.
dynamics.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I could be the man I am today without hurting the people that I hurt in the past, I would have
Exactly.
preferred that, man. Um,
That's a great description for sure.
right? But
Yep.
there's no time machine, man.
Yeah.
We can't undo
With,
what's been done.
without the trauma, there's no tragedy. So that's the way I have to look at it.
No,
Or
man.
with the,
And
I'm sorry, without the trauma, there's no triumph. That's what I meant to say.
yeah, no, it's and I think, you know, you see you have a choice now. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's the story, bro. The story is, what are you doing today? What are you doing now to pay it forward, to add value to people's lives?
Sure. So, what began this for me is, when my son took his life, I met my wife, and this transition started taking
Were you
place
already
for
with
me.
Julie when he took his life?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was a blessing. And that's what a lot of people were scared that I was going to go back to who I was. And I'm like, I'm not going to, I'd have rather been dead than do that, but
Right.
I'm not going to, I was not going to do that to Julie as well. I was not going to just, she was the best thing in my life.
Hey,
Still is.
can I ask you a fucked up question?
Yeah, absolutely.
And bro, I'll cut this out if it's not
No,
cool,
you're
man.
good. Please
Um,
ask me.
after your son killed himself, did you think about doing the same to yourself?
Oh, great question. And I share this often. Did I think about doing that? No. But do I have bad moments and I have a good life? Absolutely. I've explained this to my wife and other
Mhm.
people that maybe think, I have a great life,
Right.
but at times I'm still an impulsive man as far as just like catastrophizing over something that's really minimal. I'm that
Sure.
guy. Well, the way I describe it is this. My son's death killed me, but it inspired me. It inspired me to be a better person. I'm not mad at him or God, but my son made a selfish decision. Okay, it's just the way
Yep.
that it is. Did he intentionally hurt me? No, he did not. But it caused a ripple effect, and I wouldn't be here without it. What I tell people is this: what kind of man would I be to take my own life and push all that onto my wife? And I already know how it feels. She'd spend the rest of her life wondering, why wasn't his love enough for me and my love enough for him to keep me alive? And that's a lot
Isn't
of
it
shit to carry.
crazy, Ricky, brother? Isn't it
Yeah,
crazy that whole dynamic when
for sure.
we
Yeah.
don't think it through all the way, do we?
No, not at all. It's and I think about and I keep that in my mind at all times, even for maybe if it's a bad decision, I'm like maybe contemplating. I'm always thinking about what it would do to her, how it would impact her.
I
So
think if we realized, right, if we just took a moment, your son made a decision.
yeah,
Um, and there was a ripple effect from that.
yeah,
Every decision we make, it just doesn't affect us, man. It affects
no,
everybody in our circle.
for
And
sure.
I think pausing, man, pausing to
Yeah,
and it's so hard to do, man. Emotional decisions are never good decisions. And when
sure.
we're sideways like that, the weight of the world, it's suffocating at times. But I
And
think,
I'll get to the
yeah, knowing that, brother,
um,
knowing that, that's amazing.
and I'll get to what got me to where I am today, and,
Yeah,
another piece to the ripple effect. Even today, that helps hold me accountable is, my wife works for the government. She has a position that my conduct can impact her just from social media. So I have to be very mindful of what I'm doing at all times when I'm traveling, who I'm around, because those things can impact her not in a good
sure,
way. So
sure.
I have to be mindful of that at all times. So the answer to your question is, I didn't pursue public speaking. It's not something I ever thought I would be doing. About
Right.
6 years ago, I felt like I was supposed to be doing this, and I felt called to do it. And I stutter. I still talk fast at times. I've given over 300 sessions in probably close to 200 venues. I don't always get it right. I mean, I'm human.
Right.
But anyway, when I started public speaking, I was standing in front of a mirror for hours with an iPad. I'd sweat and cry and like ask God, like, why you call me to do this? I'm terrible at this. I always tell people to keep this in mind. Whatever we fear the most, when we overcome that, that's going to become our greatest strength. And that's what public speaking was for me. I
Okay.
never saw myself doing this or standing in front of 600 healthcare professionals or law enforcement or state legislation and those kind of things. I never saw that in my life, but
Right.
that's how it began for me. And now I travel throughout the country speaking. There's not a demographic that I probably not spoke to, and I'm not. That's the beauty of my story is I'm not confined to like one specific area where I only speak to veterans or I only speak to schools.
It's a
Due to my
human,
life experience.
it's a talk to the human race, man. Talking to
Yeah,
people.
and even if somebody can't relate to what I speak on, they probably know somebody that's going through it, and that gives them an idea of how to maybe approach it or how to maybe support them.
Dude, your problems are my problems and my problems are your problems.
Hmm.
It's some to a lesser extent than others, but I think that's one component that we're missing as a people is understanding the importance of us being vulnerable and sharing our stories,
Yes.
and caring,
Yep.
legitimately caring, not liking, right? Not liking, but
Yeah.
just caring for each other.
Sure. We're all going through something.
Yeah, man.
We all have the need to be heard by somebody. We want somebody to listen to us. To be therapeutic, it doesn't mean you have to be a therapist. To be present with somebody, just be willing to sit with them, listen to them. We're not trying to be fixed. Most all of us in our heart and minds know when we're doing too much of something or not enough, and it's causing a negative impact in our life. We just want somebody to sit with us and be like, hey brother, hey sir, I know how you feel because
Right.
I can relate to this because I've been through it.
Yeah, man.
We're going to get through it. We're going to get through it together, and you have a reason to feel the way that you do. So that's what we're all looking for.
Man, just sitting with somebody that can relate a little bit takes a little bit of the weight off, doesn't it? Doesn't take all of it,
100%.
but
Yeah,
takes a little bit of it off, and
for sure.
enough so you can breathe.
Absolutely. And to feel like you're not judged and somebody can
Yeah,
relate.
man.
And I didn't, when I said, um, I know how you feel. That's not what I meant. We can relate to it. So
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah,
meant by
no,
that.
and listen,
Yeah.
and a lot of times you do know how somebody feels.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, it's about life experiences, man, and sharing, and and that's where I think that the connection occurs, man. It occurs in that moment. Hey, so talk to me about you got some upcoming events, my friend.
Yeah. I have some pretty significant, they're all
Talk to me.
significant, but, so I'm actually speaking on Camp Johnson, here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, Friday. I speak on Camp Lejeune pretty regular. I probably spoke to 100 groups of Marines in total since I've
So
been here in Jacksonville.
when they're coming through, man, Gunny gets them in a room, and you do your thing, huh, brother?
Oh yeah, that I've spoke from the bottom to the top. So I always enjoy it.
Yeah, man.
And I'll get to
And
what your
not to
question.
cut you off, man, but
Yeah.
you do a little push-up challenge at the end, do you
Oh yeah.
not?
Oh yeah. I do that with when I go to the prisons, jails, or with the active duty military or the high schools or
Yeah.
wherever. I always do a push
Dude,
up
listen,
competition. Just
people that you can't you're jacked up pretty good there, my brother. So what's your when you're pumping them out? I'm not I'm just gonna guess. Listen,
sure.
we don't issue challenges to people on things that we suck at, right? So
Yeah,
you're
sure.
pumping out 100+ push-ups probably with your eyes closed, right?
I've got close before. Have I been beat? Have I been defeated? 100%.
I bet,
And
I bet.
I always tell people, I'm like, listen, you might beat me, but I'm not going to let you. You got it to do. And but but it's I do that for a reason. I always want to encourage. I want to encourage them to compete under
Right.
pressure.
Sure.
but also to build camaraderie and leave on a positive note. So,
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure that does that, man.
oh
So
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So
I had this
okay,
vision of you in the front and
yeah,
leaning rest and a bunch of prisoners, trying to
yeah.
keep pace with you, man. And,
Sure. That's the funny part about when I go to the prisons. The only rule that I have is like, listen, guys, you're gonna do push-ups against me for a minute. It doesn't have to be a perfect push-up, but as long as your body is pumping, we'll count it as one, just to keep the rules simple.
right.
When I post the videos on social media, people's like, that ain't even a real push-up. And I'm like, listen, there's 200 of them and one of me. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
man.
critique the
I'm
push.
gonna count that push up.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah.
brother.
So, like I said, Friday, I'm speaking here in Jacksonville.
Right.
October 26th, I'll be flying to or October 25th. I'm going to be speaking in Missouri from the 26th to November 2nd. And I have a huge conference in St. Charles, St. Louis on the
Okay.
26th. And I have like 9 other venues during that week. I'm from Southeast Missouri, so that's where I'll be staying at.
Excellent.
Professionally, the significant event that I have there is I'm going to be speaking to the U.S. District Court, federal court,
Nice.
on November 2nd. It's for federal offenders who are making reentry back into the population.
Right.
So that's going to be a lot of great exposure on a federal level.
Absolutely.
Then I'll be coming back here, and November 26th or 27th, I'm flying to Richmond, Virginia, to speak at it's with the Virginia Department of Corrections. And I'm speaking at a statewide mental health and substance use disorder conference where there's going to be state executives, law enforcement, probation, parole, possibly the governor of Virginia. And I have an hour to speak and answer questions at this event. So that's going to be
Yeah, man.
a pretty big one.
Uh, Quite impactful. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, Ricky, before we wrap, brother, one, thank you for your vulnerability, man. Thank you for
sure.
sharing. Um, some words, man, some words that you'd like to leave the listener with, maybe, man. Our guys and girls, it's a heavy first responder
Yep.
podcast. Maybe they're on their way in, they're on their way home.
Yep.
Something that you'd like to leave them with, brother.
Absolutely. So the first thing I want to say to all the first responders, veterans, law enforcement, all you guys listening out there, and this is coming from a 3-time convicted felon. I now collaborate with law enforcement. When I say collaborate, you share your experience with me in perspective, and I share mine with you so we can better support one another.
Right.
I would not be here without accountability. Okay. Without accountability, without me being held accountable, there'd have been no reason for me to change. So I want to thank all first responders, specifically law enforcement. Thank you for what you do. You have a job that is very thankless. It's selfless. It's very criticized. It's always going to be too much or not enough, and I'm aware of that. I see it, and I want you to know that I appreciate you. So this is what I'm going to leave you with. This is how I always in my presentations. Okay, and this is very cliche, and we've all heard it. To get to where you've never gone before, you have to be willing to do what you've never done. We have to go where other people aren't, and be willing to do what they're not willing to do. Inaction breeds fear and doubt. When fear is present, genius is suppressed. If you have a vision or a goal, the most important step is the very first step. You don't have to be great from the beginning, but you must begin to become great.
Brother, that's awesome. Impacting lives, man, and adding value. Hey, if we want to, I'm going to put all your information in the show notes,
Sure.
Ricky, but if somebody wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yes, sir. I'm available on, you can find me on LinkedIn as Ricky Johnson Jr., the same thing on Facebook, Ricky Johnson Jr., and also the Semper Relentless Project. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Ricky Johnson Jr., the redemption of Ricky Johnson on Instagram as well.
Wow.
You can contact me through any of those avenues. Any questions you might have, I may not have the perfect answer for you, but I'll always give you an honest perspective. I will not mislead you with a lie. So anything you're interested about me in general, please ask me. You're not going to offend me. I've heard it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Johnson, brother, thank you for making the time. Thank you for doing what you're doing out there. Thank you for your vulnerability, and thank you for caring, brother. I appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you, sir.
And that's a wrap, brother. dude, powerful stuff, man. Powerful. When you get done talking,
Yeah.
you need a few minutes?
Oh yeah, it takes me. So phew,
Yeah.
I usually speak for 30 to 35 minutes, then answer questions. Um, it drains me. I mean, there's times I have to just go lay down and take a nap.
Ricky,
It's a
I
I tell.
cry sometimes on the way home, if I'm
Oh
honest
my
with you, man.
gosh, sir, it's been about a
Yeah.
month when I'm traveling for a week and I come back. If my wife touches my neck, I start crying
Yeah.
literally, and it's
Yeah,
just
man.
like it's all that tension in my body, and
Yeah,
it's
man.
a weird, it's a weird thing. Yeah,
Yeah, all right, 'cause thank you for sharing that honesty with me
yeah.
because, I, uh, I speak for 4 hours
Oh
on
gosh, yeah,
on my
yeah.
alcoholism, my infidelity,
Hmm.
my addictions, uh,
Yep.
and it's all good, man. It's all good.
Sure.
When I'm
Yep.
done,
Oh yeah.
I'm done. Um, see, I thought
Yep.
about killing myself over what I did to my wife and daughter, and,
Yeah.
that shame, it's just it when I talk about it, I am right back there, man. And,
Same here. I'm a
yeah, and it's just when I'm done, like, people wanna come up and talk and fuck
yes.
and it's once I get the room or get back in my truck,
Yeah.
brother,
Like
I my
I,
wife saw
the-
me once.
yeah.
I was at a conference for the FBI, and I was speaking, and,
Yep.
she had to leave the room.
Yeah.
It's just
Uh,
and then I just said, I had been doing it for a little bit. I said, "This is what I need. I need you to leave me alone for about an hour because
Yep.
I've got some shit I've got to work out." And she's just like, "Every time you speak," I go, "Every time I speak,
Yep.
I have to be John again. I have to come
Yeah.
back and be me because
Yep.
I just talked about the worst times of my life and the
Yep.
shame that I carried, and I need time to transition
Yeah.
and forgive myself again." It sounds
Yep.
weird, man, but
Sorry. I'm this. I talk. I have a friend at home who is he's a preacher. He speaks a lot.
yeah,
And I was talking to him about it, and he goes to the same. He said like speaking for an hour is like the equivalent of working 8 hours. I mean, like just your body is just. But
yeah,
yeah, when I'm traveling, I speak. I talk afterwards. I'm straight to the gym. I eat and in my room. I'm very routine and structured when I'm on the
yeah,
road.
yeah.
And yeah, what benefited me, the reason I have so many sessions is because when I first started speaking here on Camp Lejeune, it was during COVID-19.
Okay.
And I would have I would have 15 or 20 minutes per group. I could only have 20 people in a group, and that would give me like 10 groups, and I was just going back to back to back to
Oh,
back.
wow, man.
So at the end of the day,
You were
it was
getting
a it was
you were getting
yeah.
boom.
It was the most physical and mental challenge of my life by
I
far.
believe it. I
I
believe
would
it.
come home and I would just lay on the couch and I was done. I couldn't move.
I believe it.
Yep. Yep.
I, it's getting better though, right? You're getting better at
Yeah.
your recovery and how you process and
Yes.
everything?
The first thing I do after I speak is I drink orange juice. That's what I've been
Okay.
told, and that seems to work. Just to replenish all that iron and vitamin C.
Right.
Um, but I have it's funny because I get the same nerves every time, and I feel like I'm doing there's and occasionally I'll have to stop and compose myself, and I talk about my son or my wife. I have
Of
to like
course.
I take a breath. And people can see it, so I
Of
have to
course.
stop, and then I keep pushing forward. But
Yeah.
I'm a lot less emotional than I used to be for
You
sure.
know what? Me too, believe it or not. I'd have fucking tears in my eyes when I talk about some of those things. And there's still
Yeah.
a lot of emotion, but
Yep.
I've done it so often that I almost like prepare myself
Yeah.
mentally like, hey, this is where we're about to go, man. Fucking tighten up,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
Tighten
Yeah.
up, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
dude. Hey, I'm sure you got people in your life, bro. Um, I just want to extend sometimes the people that are out there concerned for other people, they forget that they need a support group as well.
Gosh, I'm gonna. You're. I feel like I'm talking to myself. I told my wife this the other day. Like I'm always the guy that's like people pour their stuff onto,
Right,
and I know I'm a strong guy mentally and physically,
right.
but there's times I'm like that guy that's like wanting somebody to be like, "Hey, brother, just checking on you. Is everything okay?" And
Yeah,
man,
man.
yeah, for
I
sure.
you don't know me from a hill of beans, bro, but I'd be willing to be that guy for you in that network, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just, bro, with vulnerability comes there's a weight that comes with that,
Yeah,
and we're grown men and we're pretty good at carrying that weight, but you can't ever let that weight get too heavy, man.
sure. This what I always tell people is success teaches isolation. The more you grow, I know that my energy is not for everybody. I'm a disciplined guy. I'm good to be around.
Right.
It's just I'm not going to compromise a lot of things about myself and put myself in danger or risk what I have.
Of course.
So I'm very mindful. I'm very mindful of who's around me, and I spend a lot of time alone because of that.
Yeah, it's so my best friend's my wife,
Same here.
and I know a lot of people, Ricky. I know, but I probably got two guys that I'll reach out to, two buds, but it's a short
Yeah,
list, man. It's a short list, and it's by design. Um,
same with
I don't
me.
I haven't had a drink in 27 years. I almost everybody outside of my wife will have a glass of wine. My wife's not a heavy drinker. I have alcohol in the house for guests and
Yeah,
whoever wants a beer or something. It's not for me. Um, but there's a lot of almost everybody in my social circles, they drink. And so,
yeah.
I'm usually the last one to get there and the first one to leave, man.
Same boat. Yeah,
I tighten up that window, man.
yeah.
I just don't need
And
it, don't want it, don't wanna see it, I don't want it in my life, I don't wanna be around people that,
my,
overindulge.
my wife My wife can see it on me when we go out to eat somewhere. If I, or she's like, she can tell it bothers me. And I'm not drinking like 12 years, but
Right.
when I see somebody doing something that seems so innocent to them that would fucking kill me,
Yeah.
I'm very like I'm very it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, man.
I got to get out of there.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I